Hello, my beautiful friends, and welcome to Zelma's Book Nook. Today I have my June wrap up for you guys. It is the 28th of June, so I still have a couple more days of reading. I still have 3 books that I haven't finished. One, I'm halfway through it, so I'll definitely finish by tomorrow. And then I've got I don't think I'm gonna make through one, but I may get through the other one because it's a little bit shorter of a book. But we will see. If not, I did read outside, so in the grand scheme of things, if I just finish this one book, then I've reached my 20 goal for the month. So it's still a good month. So I can just roll over those other books another time. So let's go in. So the one book that I'm in the middle of is Kill for Me, Kill for You. This one has been a pretty fast read and I've been really enjoying it. Yeah, it's been a different take on a lot of like killing, I don't know. Like stuff happened to each of these women and they decide, after their little support group for losing a person that they love, they decided that one was going to kill for the other person, and the other person was going to kill for that other person. So they're literally swapping on who they want to off. So that's the storyline. It's pretty fun. I've been really enjoying it. So I'll probably edit in here my final review.
Okay, so quick little review. I did finish the book. It was great. I think I gave it a 4.5. It had a great twist at the end that you saw coming, but at the same time, you hoped that it wouldn't happen. So I was kind of disappointed that it did happen because I thought it would happen, but they brought in another character to kind of round out that whole twist. And yeah, it was a solid 4.5 for me, and I really enjoyed it.
Okay, the other books that I did not read is Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute. I've been carrying it around with me and I've read maybe a chapter, but I don't know. I'm struggling getting into it. Maybe I'm just not in the mood to read it. I don't know. I do want to read it. I just haven't picked it up to finish it. I was really wanting to um go to the 4th book in Akatar so that way I could do the 5th book for July and have that series done with. And then the last one was the 2nd book in the No Sir, which was The World That Was, and it was the Haunting Dystopian Tale series. And I just never got around to it. It's not that I don't want to read it. I do want to read it. I really, really, really enjoyed the first book in the series. So it's definitely on my radar to read. The first one I drew was Silver, which was Spinning Silver, and Spinning Silver here. It was a good book, but in my opinion, was too long. Like it wasn't like super long. It's 466 pages, but I feel like they could have shortened it by 160 pages easily. I just felt like it kind of drug on a bit. So, this one is a retelling of Rumpelstiltskin. Why am I having deja vu with this book? I feel like I was saying the exact same thing about another Rumpelstiltskin book. Why am I having deja vu? This I gave 3 stars. Gosh, I don't even remember the storyline. It wasn't that memorable. I don't know. I just struggled with this book, I guess. I can't tell you. I literally don't remember a whole lot about this book. Uh, I gave it 3 stars, but I'm sitting here now. I'm like, okay, so this was the first thing that I read for the month, and I literally forgot the premise of it. All I know is it was a retelling of Rumpelstiltskin. That's it. That's just awkward. Normally, I've got a pretty good memory. Like, I can remember what I read in books and give you a good synopsis, but this one is just mind boggling. Like, I can't tell you. Can't tell you anything. Okay, so the next thing I read was, so it was 0 to 999, which is Beauty in the Bible. Now, I thought that this was 500, but it was actually 500 BC. So this one was in the wrong time frame. So this one was based off of several women in the Bible, I want to say. Or what if we discover personal diaries of the most beloved women in of faith? Yeah. This one really wasn't memorable either. This one I gave 2 stars. All I just know is, a lot of the names. Like Sarah, childlessness. Sarah was my favorite story of them all. How she couldn't have a baby for so long, and reading her diaries, it just, you could feel the heartbreak. And then when she's up there in age and all of a sudden she's blessed to have this baby, you could just feel the joy and stuff. But then at the same time, jealousy because of your servant girl that you offered up to your husband so that way he can carry on his seed, carry on the family name. Now you're jealous because you literally gave up your husband to another woman so he can have a baby. Yeah, that was my favorite story. That I'm gonna permanently delete it off my Kindle because I don't see the need of keeping something on my Kindle if I'm never gonna read it again. So I'm gonna be deleting a lot of stuff. Okay, so the next thing was illustrated cover, and I picked You've Reached Sam, and this was beautiful. Like, not just the cover, but I mean everything about this. So Julie and Sam love each other so much. They're in high school. They are just the love of each other's lives, and Sam passes away. And this is a story about grief and trying to handle and, go on with life without the person you love the most being there. I want to say magical realism going on. She gets a phone call from Sam. So then she's able to talk to him, which I thought when I was reading, I'm like, how is she going to let go of Sam if she's constantly calling him and talking to him? But at the same time, as you're reading this book, you're seeing the growth and seeing that time where she actually can let go. It was beautiful. I mean, this so beautiful, and I want to read more from Dustin Tao so much because this I freaking loved. This I gave 5 stars. It doesn't have a whole lot of good. It's got a 3.63 on Goodreads. It doesn't have a whole lot of good reviews, but I mean, I loved it. I mean, the writing and everything, I just thoroughly enjoyed this. And he's a Vietnamese American writer. Yes, this was so good. I can't wait to read more from this author and this cover. I hope he continues doing absolutely stunning covers, or whoever he hired to do, because I'm just obsessed with this cover. Obsessed. Okay, so the next one is Random Decade and 90s was chosen. So I did The Cat Who Saw Stars because this came out in 1999. I grew up reading the Cat Who books, and so this is book 21 in the series. I gave it 3 stars. Basically, there's a murder. The town thinks it was aliens. It's fun story in that regard because everybody's like, ooh, what if it's aliens and all that stuff. And it's been several hours since I posted last. You may hear some snoring from either one of the 2 animals in this room, my husband or the dog. So, and I've got my mommy juice. I've got a little beer here. So, with that said, let's go on to the next. She was the author of It From Another Country, and I chose Fate Inked in Blood because the author is from Canada. This is a Norse I don't want to say retelling, but it's about Freya. I don't know if it's a retelling of Freya or if the character's name is just Freya in the book. She finds out that she has magic within her or something. She has found out that she is a shield maiden, and the king, I can't remember if it's the king or whatnot, ends up taking her as an extra wife just to show his power for his kingdom. They, out of respect to his current wife, his first wife, they don't I mean, they're married, but in the eyes of the land at that time, but they don't consummate their marriage or anything like that, out of respect to the wife. But she ends up falling in love with his son. There is definitely love or hate to love relationship here. Like, they despise each other, but yet there's a connection there. So it's a journey of that they go through, and a war that they go through. I don't want to give away too much information, but I really enjoyed this. And what did I give this? I think it was like 4 stars, I want to say. It was, yes, I gave it 4 stars, and definitely excited to read any follow-up books in the series. Sorry if like half my face is dark. It's just because it's dark and I don't want to put the light on to the bedroom because I want my husband to be able to sleep. So I will have the pictures up here. You'll be able to see the photos better than seeing my face, but you don't want to see my face anyway because, you know. So the next prompt I pulled was published the year of my birthday, which is 1981, and I chose Jeanette Oak, Once Upon a Summer. This is a reread for me. This was like, I forgot how much I don't like this series. I read this book, I don't know, it's just, as a kid reading it, it's one thing, but going back and reading it, it's just not really my thing. Not my series. I don't think it ever was my series. The series that I really loved was Love Comes Softly series. That was my favorite series of Jeanette Oak, and they turned around and made that into a movie series. But anyway, let's loop back to Once Upon a Summer. My least favorite series of Jeanette Oak. I don't know, I just don't vibe with the writing style anymore, and I don't want to continue with the series. I'm done. I don't want to reread the whole series. Next in series, so I read Fracture Me, which is the little novella, the second novella in the Unite Me book, and so it was like the second half of this, and it was all right. I think I gave this one, I mean, all of them have been solid 4 stars, but I think this one, did I give this one 3? Yeah, I give this one 3. This was been my least favorite of them all. It's just not really memorable. I don't really remember much about this book. I read it. I know I read it, but I don't know. It's just not memorable for me. What is this? I'm like so lost. Like, I can't remember the premise of this book. Like, I know the last one was, you know, Warren was more of the storyline, but what was the storyline of Fracture Me? It goes back into Adam's story after the breakup with Juliet, and there's a big old battle that's going on. So, I don't remember. I know I read it because I have it listed here as being one of the earlier books I read in the month. Next one is Mythical Creatures, and I chose ACOTAR, Wings and Ruin, which is the 3rd book in the series. This one was by so far the longest book. I know the last one is the longest. So this one was 700. $6.99. So yeah, 700 pages. I read this one. This one Tamlin, the one she was supposed to be married to, is working on the sidelines, working with her enemies. So he's out doing his own thing, and so she wants to uncover his plans and what in the world he's doing. I'd give this one 5 stars. Next one, sports romance, highly suspicious and unfairly cute. I already mentioned that before. I did not read that. And shortest book, and it was First Lie Wins. And this one was a very interesting book. It's part of her job to take on all these different personas, and so whatever her boss sends her and her new identity, that's just what she goes for. But she's trying to figure out who's the real identity to Mr. Smith, and don't want to give away anything, but there was a slight twist in there regarding Mr. Smith and who he was. So this was definitely a fun time. I gave this one 5 stars, yeah. So I definitely really did enjoy this. I can understand the hype behind it and why so many people were saying that it was a good novel. It was a really good thriller. I enjoyed it. So if you like the spy type thrillers where they're taking up different identities and then you're trying to figure out who's who, I want to say more, but I don't want to say it because I don't want to give a spoiler. It's so hard to not give a spoiler, but this one was really good. If you love thrillers, definitely pick this one up. Was the longest title, which was Kill for Me, Kill for You, and I'm in the middle of that. I already talked about that earlier. Next one was Luck in the Title, and I read Lucky Shamrock. Now, this one was on Kindle Unlimited. Good book. I was thinking that this was going to be like set in Ireland, but I was so wrong. It's not. The Lucky Shamrock is what the flower shop is called. So it's a contemporary story about these guys who operate a flower shop and the delivery service and dealing with Karens with weddings and all that stuff. So it was a good time. It was a shorter book. It just a fuzz over 200 pages. So it was an easy read. I did give it 4 stars. It was a good time. I enjoyed it. I do wish that it was set like in Ireland or something like that, but have everything else be the same, the flower shop, the storyline, just the setting in Ireland. I think it would make it better. I don't know. As I was reading it, I kept imagining, that they were set in Ireland, and then they would say do something that was very much American, and I'm like, nah. My little imagination isn't working with trying to put a different setting in this book. So I think that's why I docked it a little bit. The next one was 1800s, which was The Lost Melody. This was an interesting read. This one is a special edition, so it's got the sprayed edges with the musical notes on it, which I absolutely adore. The cover on this one is quite different, as you can see from the photo here. This one, look at this special edition book. I just love it. I think I love this more than the cover, which I do love the cover. I really do, especially with the old piano. But anyway, so there's a couple people that were put in this insane asylum. Both pianists, like concert pianists, very famous, I want to say. And they were put in an insane asylum. Do you want to know why they were put in? This was just so out there. It's because they hear music in their head when music is not being played. They play the piano. Of course they're going to hear music in their head. So they get put in sanatoriums because of this. They put in insane asylums because they hear music in their head, which is ridiculous. So, like, what are they gonna do with me? Like, yesterday I'm at work and I had not one but two songs stuck in my head. I had a Miley Cyrus song. I can buy me some flowers, cause Earl's gotta die. No, 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 no. That's literally the exact how I was singing it in my head, was in that way. I was combining the two songs, and I was joking around with my colleagues, and I'm like, I am clearly nuts. So, the storyline on this is she wants to try to find another pianist that's in there. She ends up getting put in the insane asylum as well. Um, Only to find out, I'm probably going to give away some stuff. It was under her father's strings and why this happened. So she was put in brutal situations. Nobody believed her on who she was. She said that she was this famous concert pianist, say the name, and they're like, you lied, this is who you are not them. But then when she actually sits down and plays at the piano, even though she's shackled, they're like, oh wait, she can play the piano. And then they're like freaking out, like, oh, we did it bad. We did it bad. But she did end up, I don't want to give away anything. Oh, I can't. I want to say more, but it'll give away the ending, and I can't do that. But anyway, she's in there to try to find another concert pianist. And I will say that she did find a ballerina in there who, after being in there for so long, actually did go insane. This was definitely a good read. What did I give it? I probably gave it 4 stars. I've got, I can buy me some flowers, cause Errol's gotta die. No, 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 no. The next one was my favorite color. My favorite color is cobalt. I love the color indigo, which is pretty much a lighter version of cobalt. I love like deep navy blues, but especially if they've got that like little touch of purple in there. I love the blurples. Chose the change because this is the closest to my favorite color, and this was a complete blind buy. It was something that just got thrown into an order to bump up the order to get the free shipping on Pango. So, I threw it in, and this one was a 5-star read. Like, I totally went into this completely blind. Like, all I read was, Harriet wants her to call her, a witch, and so I had no idea what this was about. But Nessa lost her husband, and her kids go off to college, and I believe there's, I don't want to give stuff away. There's like a murder. Everybody, like, this house was pristine. The yard was always pristine, and she was somebody well off who everybody like looked towards, and her marriage falls apart, and she just lets her yard grow and overgrow. And so all these people in this nice community is seeing all these weeds and all that stuff. But with Nessa, every plant has got a purpose. So she is a witch, and she uses her plants for her, I don't know, way to get back at some people. Like, I'll tell you one thing that she did was she was at a party where she found out that these big time bigwigs are taking these underage kids and abusing them. You know where I'm getting at. But they think that they can get away with it because they have money. Well, Nessa and, or not Nessa, Harriet, yeah, and Nessa, decide to team up to try to go after these people. So while they were there at some lavish party set by one of these billionaires, Harriet goes and blows seeds out into the wind. Well, those seeds grow into a plant that created a lot of bees. And apparently, homeowner is deathly allergic to bees. So she got away with harming him. And there's no proof because all she did was plant this certain flower that she knew was going to bring in the bees. And then he ended up in the hospital for a very long time. But I mean, things do change for the good in this community. The president of the Homeowners Association, uh, he's a Karen. He's a freaking Karen. Anyway, I really enjoyed this book. If you love kind of like mystery, witchy, thriller, I don't know how you would classify this book. But it was a 5-star read. And I want to read more from Kristen Miller because I really, really enjoyed this book. It was so good. The next one is KU, which is a Kindle Unlimited. And I chose The World That Was by Heather Carson. Mentioned that before. I did not get around to reading that. Number 16 was 1990 to 1999, which was another 90s book. So I read this one. Was so good. Oh my gosh, I thoroughly enjoyed this book and I wanted more. Did give it 5 stars, so I'm definitely looking to buy the second and third books. I didn't even know that this was even a series. It just says a novel, so I wonder if he wrote more. But this is 1000 White Women by Jim Fergus. It's based on the true story of how the government did the secret thing that they do, and they promised 1000 white women in exchange for horses. I believe it was actually 300 horses, but in the book they did 1000 horses, one horse to one woman. And essentially what the government was wanting was for the inbreeding to be happening. They wanted these mixed babies so that way they can be integrated into society and become more white instead of more native. And so these women signed up to be part of this. May Dodd, she was put into the sanatorium because she fell in love with somebody under her station, and she was also not married to said person, but she had children with him, and her family swooped in and took the children and then had her shackled and taken off to the sanatorium, all because they put it basically she's too sexual in nature, and that's why she got put in, is because she loved somebody under her station. And so was thinking that maybe her family probably paid off her man that she loved and that she was trying to get back to. So the promise of, going into this program was she'll get her freedom. She needs to provide a baby with that Native American, or if they don't have a baby within 2 years, then they're free. So essentially the longest that they'll be with the Native community would be 2 years. Now, she ended up getting picked by the chief of the Cheyenne Nation. And it's a beautiful story on how she comes to love her Native husband, and how these other girls come to love, and how they blossom within the Native community. And it just shows that, these women are coming from this big society, and then they go in and they're living a nomadic life where they just pick up and follow the bison wherever they go. So they travel to many states, Nebraska, I think they were in Montana at one point, so, and then the Dakotas. So, they were nomads. They traveled around, they followed where the animals were. But this is about the time of the Indian Wars, right? This is like pre the Indian Wars. So things are really starting to heat up because gold is found. The whites are all rushing out there, and all these whites don't want to be slaughtered by these natives. But the thing is they're taking all the native land. So of course there's going to be dissension. Of course there's going to be fighting. So they were hoping that May can convince the chief, because she's married to him, that they can, go to the reservation that they have set out and that they're going to live a much better life. May knows that that's not going to happen. Like, how these people live now is the healthiest way to live. She ended up absolutely loving living with the tribe. And so I love this because this book, breathes life to the situation that happened then and the injustices that happened. And yes, there was some nasty things that other natives were doing to others. Granted, I mean, we're all human. We all bleed the same. There's nastiness in all of us. But I just loved, I don't want to say too much, because the ending of this was very hard and made me want to cry. And but I know that because she did this, her seed is gonna live on, her child. So I am super excited about reading the second book in the series. I need to, next time my husband and I go to Paul's, I'm gonna go to the book exchange and see if I can find the second and third books over there, because I really love this. I definitely gave this 5 stars. It was a fantastic read. I enjoyed every moment of it. I drew 2011 to 2024. So I brought in 5 Broken Blades. And this one I read literally right after the 1,000 White Women. So this is the 5 most dangerous liars of the land. Were all summoned to work together to kill June, which is their god. But they're like, but he is no god, he's just a man. So they're all brought together for this one purpose, to try to off June, because he is not a good leader. He's destroying their world. And so this is kind of like Lord of the Rings in the sense where they're all traveling to one area for a common thing. So you follow all of these. And the nice thing is I referred to this a lot. Normally I don't refer back to the maps, but in this I referred to the map quite often because they were all in different places. Every single person was in all different areas. And so within the book I was able to track where they started and where they were traveling from. And so then you can see where all these people are all collecting to this area here. And so some of them have got long journeys ahead. There's one that ended up having special powers, and the guy's like, how did you do this, how did you save me, kind of scenario. He was just hired to be a bodyguard, basically. There is lovers in here who were past lovers, but they're broke up, they were separated, but they've got brought back together because of what they were asked to go do. So there's that storyline in here. And then I think there's the princess herself, or the prince. I think it's the prince. one of them is undercover. One of them was exiled. It was either the prince or the princess was exiled. I think it was the prince. I think it was the prince. He was exiled out of the kingdom, so he had been living undercover, and he didn't want people to know who he was. But obviously, he was found out. So, pretty early on in the book, because he was summoned. So, yes, this was definitely a good book. I rated it 4 stars, and I'm excited to read more of the series. And this edition is absolutely stunning. I love it. The end papers. Yeah, beautiful. So when the next one comes out, definitely going to pre-order the special edition, because that way I have a whole set that's all matchy-matchy. But yeah, I'm excited about reading more from that series. Person/people on the cover, and I chose Lilac Girls. And this one is based on the rabbits. This is based during World War II, and the rabbits are these group of women who were experimented on during World War II. Like, the Nazis were doing all these horrible experimentation on these women to see how their men can handle shrapnel, diseases, all sorts of stuff. So they were literally like destroying these women to try to learn more about stuff. It was a very hard read because of the fact that you're reading about these women and the horrible things that were going on. One of the women, I think it might be a true story, but one of the women doctors so she ended up having to go into a trial because of the war crimes that she was doing against these women. She ended up going to jail, and it was supposed to be for a very long time. She got out in 5 years, and then she opened up another practice. Like, I would be pissed, and I want to go off her. After you find out that, this person is now bringing babies into the world when she was in there killing babies, killing these women's babies. And you can go in and look up the bunnies or the rabbits. What were they called? They were called the bunnies or the rabbits, one of the two. And you can read about their story. And 70 some of the rabbits came over. They were able to get them here as refugees in America. And then we tried to fix. They went a lot of surgeries and a lot of therapy, talking to a therapist and all that stuff. So we did try to make what was wrong, make right with what was wrong with them. So it was definitely a heart-wrenching book, but I do believe that this is a story that needs to be told, because I didn't even know about these girls. I knew about World War II. I knew about the atrocities that did happen there, but I had no idea that they were testing on these women. And they were called, I want to say the rabbits or the bunnies, one of the two. You probably Google World War II, the rabbits or something, and you'll get the whole story. I Googled it and went down a whole rabbit hole just reading everything about them. So number 19 was a random page, and Google chose 322, and the closest one I had in my list was Book of Cold Cases. So that was this one right here. This, I believe I gave 4 stars. Yes, I gave this 4 stars. This one is based in Oregon. A gal who writes not articles, what do you call them? On the internet. She has her own website. She's a blogger. She was writing about the lady killer from the 70s. Was shaken by the lady killer murders. 2 men seemingly were murdered with the same gun, with strange notes left behind. Beth Greer was the perfect suspect, a rich, eccentric 23-year-old woman seen fleeing the scene of the crime. but was acquitted, and she retreated to the isolation of her mansion. And so the blogger, what's the blogger's name? I'm so bad with names, guys. Shay. So yeah, she's a receptionist, but at night she's been blogging about the lady killer, and she wanted to talk to the rich Beth Greer about the murders because she was put on this whole murder trial. She ended up being acquitted, but at the same time, Shay wants to get down to the nitty gritty and find out who actually did this. I want to say who done it, but I want you guys to read it. But there's also a paranormal aspect in this. There's some ghostly activity in here. And yeah, so it's about Shay trying to uncover and try to solve the 40-year-old mystery of the lady killer and these murders. So she goes on a thing. She actually gets to know Beth. They become friendly. And yeah, I don't want to give away. There's more I want to say, but if I just say one thing, it'll give away the whole premise of the whole book. And I don't want to do that because it's a good book. I gave this 4 stars, I believe. The next one I chose the prompt child. So I did Book Jumper. So this one is based on like a 15-year-old girl whose mom decides to pick up and move from Germany back to her home land of Scotland. And her daughter is a book jumper. When she opens up a book, she can insert into, she could be zapped in time to that time. Like, let's say King Arthur. She can be shipped off and she can talk to Guinevere or Morgana or, little things like that. So any book she could be shipped off to and be part of the story. Now, there's a lot of book jumpers, but there's rules. You don't do anything that's going to affect the outcome. So she did a big no-no by bringing food to some starving children in one of her books that she jumped to, that she actually offered food. And apparently people did not like that. But yeah, she's part of a group of book jumpers. There is a second book. It doesn't say anything about it being in a series, but it's got the same type of picture on the front. So I'm assuming it goes with this. This is a translated book from Germany, I want to say. But yeah, it was a good book. I definitely want to read more. Anyway, I gave it 3 stars. I do still want to read more. I want to read the second book just to see if maybe the second book is better, because I don't want to totally write off the book. But yeah, it was still a good book. All right. So with that, I did not read 3 books, but I did read 2 other books, so that'll bring me to 19. And then when I finish the one book that I'm reading, which is, where is it at? Oh, Kill for Me, Kill for You. Once I finish that, it is the 29th now, and I'll have that finished today. That will be at my 20 goal. So good thing I read outside. So I read 2 books outside. I decided I was going to pick up the little novella for ACOTAR just to get that done, so that way I can read the 5th and final book in July. And this one was pretty good. This one was obviously a Christmas release, so they are celebrating the solstice and, trying to figure out what they're going to buy for each other, possibly opening up a shop so she can paint in, that kind of thing. So that was kind of little synopsis of this fourth book. It was very chill, which was nice because everything else was just war, 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 and this was just downtime. They were just enjoying the solstice and enjoying the festivities with the solstice. And so, yeah, that's what this book was. And I believe I gave this one, what did I give it? 4 stars, I think. Yes, this was a 4-star read. Okay, and the last one I read was Uprooted. Now, I struggled with Spinning Silver. I thought it was too long. This one read so much better. And it had this pretty much the same amount of pages. This one has 456 pages. This read so much better and so much easier. And I think this one came out before Spinning Silver. So I don't understand the difference. Maybe it's just the story. Maybe I just like the story more on this more than that other one. Gave me the vibes of Beauty and the Beast in a way. So in Jessica, I called her Angie for short because my tongue can't say in Jessica. But I could say some of the other names like Cassia. That was easy, or Cassia, whichever. But anyway, she lives on the edge of this forest, and this was kind of giving me if you played the game Dragon's Age, it kind of gave me those vibes because they were talking about some stuff in here that reminded me of my favorite game, Dragon Age, because they were talking about the corrupted, because there was corrupted woods and corrupted people, and they were talking about the hinterlands, which that's one of the locations in Dragon's Age. They did talk about, so the dragon in this is a human. He is a warlock, and his warlock name is the dragon. They all get chosen names when they get accepted, when the king accepts them as being a warlock or whatever. So they get a special name. So anyway, the dragon, he goes and picks women, chooses a woman like every 10 years or so to come live with him in his castle. And it kind of gives me Beauty and the Beast vibes because of that. There is an elaborate library, and he doesn't want much of anything besides just the company, her to be clean, because she has a propensity to constantly be dirty. But we find out that he can sense magic in these children, so he specially picks children. And as she was growing up, she was told by her family that her sister was going to be the one chosen because she was the beautiful one. So they groomed her into being the person that the dragon would love, because she would cook for them. She would do all this stuff for them. But Angie ends up being chosen instead, and she doesn't understand why her sister didn't get chosen because she knew nothing. Her parents didn't prep her for anything. So, but she does have a magic within her that she's able to pull the corrupted out of people. And it was the first time in ever that this was ever done. So that is the whole premise of the story, is that there's like bad things in the woods, corrupted, and they got to try to fight the woods and the corrupted and fight people because they are corrupted and little butt heads. But I thoroughly enjoyed reading this book. It was a page turner. I loved every moment of it. 4-star. I gave it 4-star. I wonder why. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. Spinning Silver, that was a drag. It was the same size book. And Spinning Silver came after this one, and this one was so, so, so good. This storyline. So I highly recommend Uprooted. If you want to read Spinning Silver, it's still a good time, but be prepared because it is a bit of a drag, and yeah, it just feels like it goes on and on and on with just stuff that didn't need to be told in the story to be valid. Let's just say it didn't need it. But this, like, every page was needed. And when I thought that they had won the war, I'm still going, there's still like 100 and some pages left. There's still something big that's going to happen. And it didn't disappoint. Not at all. So I really enjoyed this. And that is the end. So he's just over there sleeping. I didn't want him to be blinded by the light. So, anyway, thank you guys for joining me. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!